it's Joe from Trillionth Joe, or Joe's Trillionth channel, sort of still working that out a little bit. We'll see how it turns out. Anyway, today I want to talk about an anime that very much motivated me to start this YouTube channel in the first place, and not for the reasons you might think. The anime is called The Irregular at Magic High School, or Mahoka Koko no Retose. Now, if you want to watch the anime and then make up your own mind without my input, feel free to do so, but there will be spoilers in this video because I will talk about the plot of the anime and whatnot, so right, with that established, let me do a quick breakdown of what the Irregular at Magic High School anime is like. The story starts by establishing the setting, which is in an alternate universe where magic exists, becoming a revolutionary kind of technology in the early 21st century. Despite having this magic, though, humanity is unable to fight against the effect of global cooling in the 2030s. Facing droughts, food shortages, and a lack of energy sources, World War III erupts in 2045, and continues for 20 very long and brutal years. Miraculously, the war is stopped before devolving into a full-blown thermonuclear war, very much thanks to the efforts of the magic users who, at the time, united to put a stop to things before the war got to that point. By the end of these events, the population of humanity has dwindled down to 3 billion. And in response to the population reduction, countries have been forced to merge and shift together, leaving the world with 4 superpowers in the form of the United States of North America, New Soviet Union, the Great Asian Alliance, and Japan. A few decades passed since the end of the war, and by the year 2090, things are looking pretty tense in the world again. Countries are clamoring to ensure the development of magic users within their own countries. The prioritization of developing magic users has led non-magic users to feel neglected. The difference between the treatment of magic users and non-magic users are leading to a wealth disparity and other frustrations as well. And as if responding to this frustration, both radical anti-magic groups as well as people equality groups are now on the rise, very much with help and funding from, say, adversarial countries who view it as being in their best interest to use these radical groups to destabilize other countries. And in the case of this alternate superpower Japan, not only do they have to deal with frustrated citizenry, radical groups, and outside interference, they also have their own set of scheming politicians, military guys, as well as an elite magic-using group called the 10 Master Clans that seems to unofficially run things in the country. Each clan being led by the elite of the elite magic users, and each family essentially being its own faction with its own ideas and perspective of how the world should be. And it's within this setting and background of the world in Japan that we get the main characters Tatsuya Shiba and his sister Miyuki Shiba. With some seriously overpowered combat abilities as well as talent, Tatsuya serves as Miyuki's bodyguard while also serving in a magic-equipped battalion, and serves as a genius magical engineer on the side as well. The sister, Miyuki, is one of the strongest magicians ever, and is a relative to the current head of the Yotsuba clan, which is one of the 10 master clans, and is on track to become the successor of the clan head position. The series follows Tatsuya and Miyuki as they navigate school life at a prestigious institution for magic users, face the schemes of extremist groups, get caught up in conspiracies by members of the 10 master clans, defend the country against invaders, and more. Which is a lot, especially if you're not familiar with the series or the franchise, but I think that the series does a really fantastic job of establishing this really unique and interesting premise, as well as interesting, story elements. Like, for example, I talked a little bit about how the magic aspect of it is kind of like a modern tech of sorts. So instead of characters being learning spells and doing abracadabra stuff, you have scenes where you can see the main character Tatsuya coding magic into these intricate looking techno gizmos that basically utilize magic to make stuff happen. And it's really interesting how they were able to take the concept of magic and kind of make it into this modern tech that people use in the future. It's a really interesting concept, and add in a lot of the international politics aspect of it, the kind of power struggles that are going on in the background, the kind of weirdly realistic problems that might come up with if magic users were real, the potential wealth gap that might exist between those who can use magic and those who can't. There's different questions and aspects that get brought up in the story that are really fascinating, that make really full use of this very unique and well thought out premise. which makes it seem like as if I'm praising this and recommending this anime, but I am not. See, the entire series has a fantastic premise. It has some really well thought out world building. It has some really interesting story arcs, characters. It has all these things that make it so good. But there's one really critical and frankly disgusting flaw. Miyuki, the sister in this show, is in love with her brother, Tatsuya. Incest. Every single episode of this series has a scene where Miyuki is looking towards her brother and going, Oni-san, with love in her eyes. It's whoa. Seriously disturbing, and things just get gradually worse. Like at first from season 1, it's just kind of weird just how infatuated she is with her brother, but by season 2 you're getting scenes where Miyuki's saying something along the lines of oh brother, why are you my brother, like as if to say, well, if you weren't my brother we could just be dating or whatever. It is seriously quite disturbing, and it's one thing if it was just some side joke or something like that, but it is a core part of this entire show. It's a core element of the entire series. And assuming the anime, which just finished season 3 recently, continues to adapt from the original source material, the light novel. Assuming it keeps doing that, we are going to eventually get to a story arc where Tatsuya and Miyuki will get engaged, because that's what's in the source material. They are biologically brother and sister according to the entire storyline. Now, I'm sure if the people who read the light novels will hear me say talking about this, they'll say, oh well, there's actually an in-story explanation that very much justifies this sister-brother love relationship. Stuff about how within the story it's made clear that both Miyuki and Tatsuya were genetically engineered when they were in development, shall we say, and as a result, all the potential genetic issues that might come up with sister-brother relationships and children that might come out of that's not a thing here, because the magical sciences that help develop these children are basically make them so that they won't have such issues if they were to have kids together. Or how that genetic modification makes them practically strangers despite the fact that they are still apparently biologically related as siblings, or how the weirdly complicated and messed up way in which each of these characters have been raised, which is something that comes up as the story develops, or how all of that makes sense that they fall in love with one another as brother and sister, right? Or how my standards are too old. It's 2090, there's been World War III, like what do I know about what is right or wrong about incest? Or how it's all a callback to an old ancient story about Hindu gods, which I have looked into. I don't think those Hindu gods were siblings, but let's put that aside. Now look, I'm an American. I believe that you have the right to speak your mind, that you have the right to believe whatever you want to believe, you have the right to think whatever you want to think, and that you absolutely have the right to be wrong. But I, for one, do not buy any of that. I think the whole Tatsuya-Miyuki relationship is incestuous and wrong, and that whatever in-lore explanation the story has made for all of this is just an excuse to justify having incest in the story. And I don't buy the whole "it's just fiction, Joe, calm down" argument either. See, I believe personally that even the fiction that we consume need to abide by some kind of standard. Otherwise, we risk unconsciously normalizing things that should not be normalized in any situation. And if you don't agree with that perspective, then there's a good chance that this channel isn't for you and that you might enjoy the Irregular at Magic High School series. As someone who enjoyed the world building, the premise, the non-incestuous portions of the storytelling of this series, I think it is a terrible shame that the Irregular at Magic High School was tainted and ruined by the sister-brother love part of it. And there are a weird amount of series, light novel and manga that get turned into animes that sadly start off with like really interesting storylines or really wholesome storylines and gradually go in the direction of incest, or some of the more common tropes would be like stepsisters or stepbrother relationships, adoptive father, adoptive daughter relationships. Like there are these weird, taboo, very sick, in my opinion, trends that you see within some of these anime series that may not look like that, but are when you actually like really look into the series, and that's really unfortunate. And by taboo here, I'm not talking about gay characters or whatever, some kind of bigoted position. No. I'm just talking about stuff like it might be wrong if we're looking at someone who adopted a young girl at a young age and helped raise them, now getting married with them or having kids with them. I think there's something wrong with that. I think there's something wrong, obviously, with brothers and sisters getting married or falling in love and having kids. I think there's something deeply wrong with that. Anime is just a vehicle of storytelling, right? It's not necessarily in of itself all about being salacious or driving forward taboos. Yet, because of the works like Irregular at Magic High School, and let's face it, there are plenty of works that don't necessarily go that far as incestuous relationships and whatnot, but have plenty of like overly sexualized scenes in some ways that really obsess over boobs and whatnot. Is it maybe because of those things that it's a lot more difficult to recommend anime to non-anime viewers? Let's call them normies. Now, if you're a regular viewer of anime and you really like the salacious stuff, or you really like the taboo driving forward, or you really like the ecchi sukebe moments, the overly sexualized moments where the females are wearing bikinis and whatnot, you might very well say, hey, if you can't get along with this program called anime, then we don't want you here. Gate off anime from the type of people who have standards. If you can't handle a little bit of sister brotherly love, well, you really shouldn't be watching anime. Okay, I'm being a little over the top and sarcastic as I say that, but I think that attitude is a bit of a shame too. There are some truly amazing and beautiful stories that have been told through the vehicle of anime. Animes that address topics that are very sensitive in such beautiful ways, or animes that express the human experience in ways that it's very difficult to do in any other format other than anime. There are plenty of animes that have done this. But when the form factor is viewed as the problem, when anime, the vehicle, is viewed as something that is salacious and wrong, there is this unfortunate barrier that comes up when you try to recommend those beautiful animes that try to address the human experience. When you try to recommend those to people, you're having to fight this barrier that you just don't have to when dealing with any other movie or TV show or some other form of media. Which gets me back to one of the motivations I've had with making this YouTube channel. Sure, one of the overarching motivations is I just want to talk about stuff that I think is fun and interesting, but I also want to put the spotlight on animes that I think normies can enjoy, and that I think people like me who have standards, who look at the brotherly sister relationship in the Irregular at Magic High School and can't help but squint our nose at it and go, no, I can't. I understand that you're trying to justify it within the story, but this is not acceptable for me. People like me. That's part of the reason why my first few videos were very much safe for work anime oriented, because it's safe for work. It doesn't have any of the overly sexualized stuff, hopefully doesn't have any of the incest stuff in it. It's safe for work, right? Now, I'm not a complete prune, so I'm not going to be out here completely avoiding the not safe for work style animes that have a bit of violence, a bit of gore, maybe a little bit of fan service too. But I'll be transparent about it. If I'm coming out here and I'm talking about an anime that has quite a bit of violence and maybe a little bit of fan service going on for it, some of the ecchi sukebe moments, but that I feel are truly still telling a very good human story in many ways, yeah, I'll talk about it, but I'll also be very transparent about what the anime series is. And that's my guarantee to you on this channel. Not all the anime-related stuff that I'll be talking about will necessarily be me promoting or recommending an anime, but if I bring up an anime, I'll make clear, hey, is this safe for work? Is this, filled with violence? Is this filled with, not safe for work, overly sexualized women moments? I'll go through all that because I think people should know. And of course, I'll never bring up series that I think have a very sickening trope to them. Now, to be clear, I don't have any delusional goals here with this channel. I'm not, with my small YouTube channel, I'm not going to be able to, affect the anime industry's embrace of content that is full of overly sexualized fan service moments, ecchi moments, incest, taboos, and other common tropes that turn some of us off. I don't think I have no effect over that. There's an audience for that. Sex sells, so of course the fan service isn't gonna go away. Lord knows that the industry has had enough time to settle down and figure out whether or not they want to keep doing stuff like this. And it's also true that there's a whole community of people out there who will riot if those sort of animes got phased out all of a sudden. I don't expect that to be changing anytime soon. I don't expect to change it. I'm not trying to. What I hope to get out of this is hopefully a YouTube channel that people can turn to if they are looking for animes that they can recommend to normies. A channel that normies who enjoy the occasional anime but really dislike some of the common anime tropes can turn to and be like, all right, is there something I could watch? That's, shall we say, one of the goals or intentions behind the creation of the YouTube channel, and honestly something something that has been festering inside me since I was horribly disappointed by the direction that the Irregular at Magic High School series went. It's one of those series that really made clear to me how much potential this vehicle of storytelling has, and just how sickening and disappointing it is when they decide to take that vehicle of storytelling and go in a horrible direction. So yeah, I think the video went a little bit all over the place, starting off with a focus on the anime and then just going in some weird directions in some ways, but I felt this video was kind of necessary. It was important to me to establish what I am trying to do with the channel. If any of what I said in the video is interesting to you, the notion of a channel that highlights safe for work anime, an anime that doesn't really go into these really gross tropes, that isn't overly sexualized, a channel that is very clear and transparent about the type of content that it is trying to promote and highlight and recommend. If any of that sounds interesting to you, I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the channel and if you could like the video. Anyway, a bit of a long video. Hopefully the next one will be a little bit more upbeat and fun, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon.